Chris and Dan's show. What is up, you guys? Listen, we got Frederick Carey. He's a powerhouse entrepreneur and CEO of Idea Pros, a company that guides qualified entrepreneurs through the complexities and pitfalls of the startup world. And there are many, guys. And then with his entrepreneurial spirit, Fred started many businesses in different industries, created many successes, acquired thousands of lessons along the way. His desire to give back to a community of like minded eccentrics led him to create Idea Pros, the world's first super venture partner, a company that could roll up its experienced sleeves and provide every entrepreneur with the opportunity to see their vision become a real company with a real product. What a concept, Fred. He also produces a weekly show for entrepreneurs that has been viewed by over 4 million people, a top 1% business professional, who's who in America, top ranked attorney. Don't mess with Fred. For several years, Fred's personal brand can be best described as this is my favorite thing I've seen all day. Fuck average, be legendary. The one and only Frederick Carey. Thank you for
Wow.
coming on.
You know,
Quite
I
the
told
introduction.
yeah, I know. I told my mom to tone it down a little bit with that. Oh, by the
Mom
way,
wrote a good one.
yeah, it's 100 million views, not 4 million. I don't know where they got that number from.
100 mil. Oh my gosh, man. It's inflation's everywhere.
I know it's good. I'm really happy to be here, and I hope we have a lot of fun and we can all impart a bunch of knowledge to your listeners.
I think so. I think maybe we start right with the fund, like the holding company fund. Chris and I are in the research world. We're trying to do that with tech companies. There's been an explosion of technology companies in clinical research trying to help the sites, and it'd be cool to like pick your brain or maybe at least talk to somebody who knows a thing or two about it. And in your case, being in all these different industries and creating Idea Pros, I mean, maybe you can talk to us about why you created Idea Pros.
Yeah, sure. I've started 10 different companies and ended up taking a couple of them public and having two others acquired by public companies. And I wanted to kind of do my biggest thing ever is hopefully my last business. I promised my kids I'd retire by the time I hit 90, so I got to get moving. Um, and uh,
Good
and
goal.
That's
they,
a good goal to have.
yeah, it was 40 when I was 20, but it keeps creeping up. So
Keeps doubling. 45 now, right?
yeah,
When
exactly.
I die, put Zoom in my casket. I'll be on the next one.
Exactly. So in any event, I try to look to a market that was robust and growing with passionate customers or clients, and where there was a blue ocean environment where people were really not getting served well. And as it turns out, it was right in my backyard in entrepreneurship. The reality is 95% of new entrepreneurs, they can't go to venture capital, they can't go to private equity, angel groups won't even talk to them. They're just corporate America, 30 to 55. They hate their lives. They're either going to go buy a gun or start over. And
Hmm,
I try to get them to,
quite the options.
yeah, put down the gun and come work with me. So that's why I started it, and it's been very, very robust.
Wow. Can we talk about your career before you started it? You know, all the businesses. Maybe let's go back to high school, college, where you grew up, where you went to school, and go from there so that we can make this maybe relatable to the
Sure. What is this? A
viewers.
7 hour show? Is
It
that
could be. I mean, World Series starts soon, but it could be as long as you'd like.
All right. So I was always an entrepreneur because I was always an outsider. It's not that I thought I was better than anybody, nor was I. It was just that I got all B's and C's in high school. I hated it. I wanted to do something on my own, frankly, because I thought nobody would have me. And so that I started with music and went from music to restaurants. I even had a gig as a lawyer accidentally, which is another show. And I've started a bunch of different companies in a bunch of different sectors. My beginning years, college, I did 6 months of community college before I left, knowing I was going to be a superstar in a rock band, which never happened. Um, but
Mm.
I had to kind of reinvent myself several different times along the way. You know, a lot of times when you have people who are entrepreneurs or want to be, and they see somebody that's had successes, they naturally assume it's, you know, they had a cushy life and it was a straight line from thought to success. When the reality is that we've all struggled to get where we are, and we don't stay where we are very long. We got to keep fighting to keep winning all the time. And so that's kind of been the struggle of my life, is that I've had to reinvent myself several different times, because the way that I approach entrepreneurship is I look for holes in the marketplace, and it doesn't even really matter what market it is. Has to be kind of robust and growing with a fervent audience and a need that's not being met. And I know if I can fill that hole, fill that need, I know I can do well, because the market's already there, the demand's already there, and the opportunity, which is the hole, is already there. So I've been in
Does
entertainment and restaurants, several different types of businesses.
does your Harvard Law School, because as a lawyer you're trained to study to prepare for a case, right? You go in and study. Sometimes you have to learn a new industry. Sometimes I don't know what kind of law you did, but you got to go in there and research stuff. So is that a transferable skill that you think has helped you out in your business career?
You know, I think the biggest thing that helped me, and nobody's going to believe this because everybody thinks lawyers are all assholes, and a lot of them are. But the reality is, um, having been a lawyer taught me to understand all sides of the equation. In fact, you can't graduate. You can't. Well, you can graduate law school, but you can't get your bar if you go in there and take the exams, and you know you have a essay question and you pick one side and you drive into that side. You'll get a 50%, because what they want to see is that you can understand all points of view and you express all points of view. So having been a lawyer, that really enabled me to kind of look at the whole picture when I'm building things, when I'm trying to develop something. And I think it is a transferable skill. It teaches you how to negotiate and how to compromise, which is really important in life.
Hmm.
Something you had said initially about starting many businesses. I recently have developed a taste for a particular YouTube channel discussing entrepreneurship, investing, things of that nature. And there was a recent episode I watched, and I'm going somewhere with this.
No, are you
Um,
subscribed to ours?
yeah, right. So he was talking about the positives and negatives of starting your own business, and something really kind of escaped uh, his thought process. He spoke nothing about failure. So, um, in your many business ventures, what's failure look like in terms of starting these new businesses for you? So I'm of the mindset that maybe your business doesn't necessarily fail as a whole, but you're going to encounter failure, even in a successful business.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can point to some of the biggest businesses in the world. Apple was almost bankrupt. The only reason they still exist today is that Bill Gates and Microsoft gave them 150 million
Yeah.
dollars
Yep.
at the courthouse steps almost. And companies like Airbnb couldn't raise a penny because no venture capitalist thought that anybody would allow strangers into their homes. You know, they kicked them out of the doors. The list goes on and on. The CEO of FedEx went to Vegas with his last amount of money and bet on black and got enough money to get jet fuel for a week before they got $100 million.
Seriously?
Look it up.
That that one I had not heard of.
Me
Serious as
either.
hell. So the reality is, failure is part of that journey to success. You're going to fail. If anybody's listening, anybody wants to be an entrepreneur, I'll give you one guarantee: you're going to fail. The reality is, you have to succeed one more time than you fail, and you have to look at failure as this opportunity of, you know what, I'm not doing this the right way. Let me try this other way. And if you look at failure and you go, fuck, I knew that this was not going to work for me. I knew I wasn't meant to be an entrepreneur. Then you're going to walk away, and you could be inches away from where that success is that's been waiting for you. It's you that makes the whole difference, not
And
what you're doing.
you got to learn from those failures, right? You can't just give up.
No,
You'll
the
never
failure.
succeed.
The failures are incredible opportunities because think about it this way. A lot of times, if you're starting a new entrepreneurial journey, you're going to be doing something that nobody's ever done or nobody's done it the way you're doing it. How the heck are you going to possibly get it right the first time? It doesn't work that way. And you have to look at failure as kind of opportunistic methodology for you to find the right path, not as an ending point.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love
And I
this
wouldn't
dude.
listen to that guy anymore if he didn't talk about failure at all.
Yeah, it really surprised me because
Who is it? Chris put him on the spot.
no,
man.
I'm not. I'm not. I'm putting him on
Who
blast.
cares?
Nope, not doing
All
it.
right, it's okay. Chris is too nice. Yeah, no, Frederick, we got to stay in touch because yeah, you're my type of people, man. So, what do you think is the biggest, like, the entrepreneurs you deal with? Well, first of all, you're Idea Pros. You don't just accept anyone
Right.
into your
We've had
company, right?
we've had 100,000 applications to work with us, and we've accepted 400 partners. But now I've started all these new programs for people, so we can take on almost anybody. In fact, if your audience wants to go to ideapros.com, the very first thing you see is free membership, and we give all sorts of free advice and information every week. Every month, we'll have a different webinar on different subjects, and so there's a lot of valuable information there. But what I look for is not what I looked for in the very beginning. In the very beginning, I looked for somebody with money because they had to contribute typically around $100,000 of this $500,000 effort we were going to do, and they had to have a really good idea. I didn't look at the most important thing, which is the makeup of the person, you know. And so I was creating a lot of marshmallows instead of entrepreneurs in the very beginning. But now the most important thing is that person, the character. In fact, I did a show last year about what do millionaires and bad ideas have in common. And the reality is that they'll take those bad ideas and they'll work with them and they'll mold them and they'll turn them into really good ideas. And that's what gets them going. The rest of us that want to take something that is half baked and run with it without accepting the fact that we're going to have to make changes along the way, we're never going to make it. So that's one of the most important criteria anybody can have.
So, from those, how many do you say? 100,000,
400,
400 out of however many apply.
100,000, yeah.
400 out of 100,000. So, from those, my math is terrible. 96,000 failures. What is like?
You're a little off there, but no problem.
Well, it's not that they're a failure.
99,000.
Yeah, we just didn't
600.
do the
Oh
program.
yeah, 4,000. Never mind. Whatever that
400.
number is.
400.
Yeah, forget the math. What more like the vast majority are rejected. What is the commonalities of those people you reject?
But there really isn't one. You know, in some cases they don't have any money, and I can't work with somebody with no money because it's a really expensive proposition, and you got to contribute because if you don't, you're just going to go on a ride on somebody else's wallet, and you know you don't stay on. The second you hit a bump in the road, you're off.
Gotta have some skin in the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Harvard taught you better than that, man.
Got to have skin in the game. You have to have a good idea. And by the way, sometimes people just didn't want to work with us. I mean, they just thought they could do it themselves. Not that we rejected everybody. In fact, probably 30% of the offers that we had made, people just say no, they can do it themselves. Although almost half of them come back a couple of years later after getting bitch slapped for 2 years.
But isn't that isn't that the best client for you though?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's an awesome client.
Yes, master.
Yes.
Chris,
So,
well, I mean, we could go all number of directions with this, so feel free to ask questions here.
Well, so what's the primary type of business that you work with, right? Type restaurants, investment firms, what?
if you not investment firms, but if you saw the pie chart of the different sectors we're in, you'd think I was absolutely crazy, and you would be right. But it's for the most part we'll do well. About a third of them are apps now. Everybody wants to have an app, but we choose
Okay.
very carefully with those, and we have things that we believe can do really well and can have big successes in the category they're in. We don't take an app for a dentist's office or things like that. We really want to game-changing apps, because apps are 0 or 1. You either really, really hit it big, or you're never going to go anywhere. So that, and then the biggest number after that is some sort of consumer goods. It could be fashion, beauty, food, healthcare, electronics, literally all over the board. Our pie chart has about 46 different slices in it for the different categories that we're in. So as long as you don't have a service business, we can work with you. Fundamentally, taking an idea and turning that into a successful business has certain building blocks, regardless of what you're building. And as long as you can fit in those building blocks, we can help you have a much better chance of making it.
So a third tech, the remaining is consumer of
Yeah,
sorts.
yeah, yeah. A lot of B2C. We do have some B2B products as well, but mostly anything to do with consumers is probably a sweet spot for us.
And then what does your arrangement with these companies look like?
Well, they'll, and mind you, I'm talking about our flagship product. Now we have a bunch of other much less expensive products starting at like $500. But
Okay.
but the flagship product was
I'm sorry, can I cut you off there just real quick? I'm just curious before you go into the flagship process, how it works. What do you get for $500?
You get video master classes from me on purpose-driven entrepreneurship. It's 15 different modules. It really teaches you every element of what you need to grow a business, but also teaches you another level to it, the consideration of always doing the right thing in every element of that. And so we're trying to create better people as well as better businesses.
Okay. And the reason I ask that is because at least in my anecdotal evidence, people like to pay for the cheap product first to see if they like it, give it a try, right?
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll pay for the more expensive items. So okay, so what's your flagship product look like?
That's $100,000 minimum,
Okay.
and it sounds like a lot of money. It is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money compared to what they're about to spend. So when we partner with somebody, number one, it's something that has to have at the very least a nationwide footprint. You know, we're going to do a nationwide launch on something. If it's a consumer product, starting with Amazon, then going into the big box stores. If it's an app, we're going into huge marketing campaigns once we launch it to get the app out into the world. But it's $100,000 and 30% equity in what we're going to build together. But in exchange for that, they're basically taking the raw idea. We're training them how to be a kick-ass entrepreneur. We're making them their own project manager, and they get to color within the lines of the systems that we've created. They have teams for every step of the way. And we literally build out everything from research, analysis, strategic, competitive analysis, personas of your customers, how you're going to get them, everything from the first year plan. If it's a physical product, the engineering. If it's a app, we do the app development, we build out the website, we naming, branding, positioning, literally everything. And at the end, we help them create a pitch deck, and we introduce them to capital so they can raise money at the end. So really, these are the same people that are going online saying, where can I have my app idea built? And they're about ready to spend $100,000-$200,000 on building a road to nowhere, because that's all an app is if you don't build a business around it.
Certainly. So has anybody ever come to you? I'm just curiosity here, because I gotta assume this has happened. Somebody's come to you and say, "Hey, I got this great idea. I have no capital, zero. Do you want to buy it from me?"
Happens
I,
every day.
I would assume so.
Yeah.
And have you ever purchased one of these ideas?
No,
No.
because we can't afford to. We're not in the business of running other companies. I can't afford it. Not that I would necessarily do it. There's no idea out there that's good enough all by itself, for you to make millions with it, or buy it for millions of dollars. And everybody thinks they have $1 million idea, but what they have is a little seed. and that seed needs to be planted, needs to be germinated, needs to be taken care of, grown, clipped. Weeds
Hmm.
need to disappear, and it's an enormous process to taking a good idea and turning that into a great business. And that's what we all wake up. There's not one person listening that hasn't woken up at some point in the middle of the night thinking, "God, it's a great fucking idea. I could make millions," and then they'll go back to sleep and forget all about it. It's the process afterwards where you got to
Happens
get
to me once a month, but go on.
exactly.
Sorry.
No, it's exactly. We all have these good ideas. It's the execution that's the really, really hard part, and that's what separates making it from not.
That Yeah, that's probably true. But if you step back 200 years, or let's take the toothbrush for example, right? Whoever invented that thing, if they patented it, and it was invented in a country you could patent it in, um, at the time was a billionaire, right? Uh, Accounting for inflation. So um, that's not really a difficult idea. Hey, brush your teeth won't fall out, right? Um, I just don't think we're there today where you can have such a simplistic idea that everybody needs and they just don't know it yet. I
Well,
just
I
don't
know
think we're
I know a guy in Miami. He's probably dead by now. And so, but it wasn't 200 years ago. He invented one thing in his life and became a multi-millionaire, like multi and 100 million, $200 million. He invented the little plastic top for aerosol cans. It's the only thing he
the
ever
spray
invented.
part.
Yeah, the little plastic spray part on the top.
Wow.
He became a gazillionaire from that one fucking thing. But no, you can't. There are small ideas that have big impact. The reality is the likelihood of that happening is pretty slim.
Sure, absolutely, especially today. I
Yeah.
think especially today.
Oh,
I mean, it's
especially.
everything's been thought of already for the most part, right? Unless you're talking like futuristic type tech.
Well, I'm sure
Well,
caveman thought of the toothbrush, but there was no global market to sell it to, so it was
Nah, he
worthless
didn't think
outside of his cave.
his toothbrush was his fingernails picking in his teeth. That was his
Yeah, but even
toothbrush.
if they gotta stick with some mint leaves on it, I mean, who's his market? The market is his cave, the people in his cave. That's it. There was no such thing as entrepreneurship.
I think they took the mint leaves back then and they made mint juleps out of them first before they thought of the toothpaste.
Yeah, not bad. But
Yeah.
can we talk about fuck average be legendary? Can you explain like what
Yeah,
this
and by
where
the
this
way,
comes from?
that's a registered trademark.
Really?
I'm shocked it's
Really?
a trademark. Yeah, I'm so shocked they gave it to me, but they gave it to me.
Wow.
It's a registered trademark. You know
Like
what
the actual word fuck or
yeah,
F with the
I got
star
well,
CK?
Asterix.
it's it's FU. I put the asterisk on the C instead of the U because putting it on the U is kind of like, but you put it on the C and it still says fuck, even without the C. So that's where I put it. So,
Well
Makes
played.
sense.
Well played.
Yeah, I like that. Didn't
so
think of that, but it makes sense.
where that came from is that everybody wants to have an extraordinary life. We all do. Well, like just even the most modest of us want to have something that's extraordinary. But when we go to bed at night, most of us can't think of one extraordinary thing we did that day. So if you don't do any extraordinary things every single day, how the hell are you going to possibly have an extraordinary life? And so the fuck average be legendary is just meant to be inspirational. That nobody wants just kind of middle of the road what they have. Obviously, there are exceptions, but people want to excel. People listening to this show want to excel for sure. You can't do that by being average. You have to step out of your safe zone, your comfort zone, your sweet spot, whatever it is. You have to step out of there and just take a leap of faith and do something every single day. When you go to bed at night, every single day, what little extraordinary thing did I do? It doesn't have to be anything massive, but what did I do that's kind of out of the ordinary? And that's where that whole phrase came from for me.
I,
I
I,
like that.
I like the phrase. I think it's applicable probably to 99% of people, but there are people out there that live what I would consider a semi-average life, and at the time during their lifetime, it's nothing extraordinary they're doing, but they're extraordinary once they're gone, right? They're martyrs. Mother Teresa, for example, or Gandhi, or right. I mean, they're on a day-to-day basis, they're not really doing anything extraordinary, right? Or at least what most typical people would consider extraordinary. And I understand what you're saying, right? Do something that fulfills you, right?
Yeah,
Individually.
and not to beat up on the host, but I think those guys, the man and that woman had extraordinary lives every single day of their lives. They stood up against the government. They fasted in protest. They led march. I mean, I think those are examples of people that led extraordinary lives every day. But there are way more people that just live average lives every single day. And the reality is, if you're one of those people, just stop listening to this show. What are you doing here? This show is meant for people that want to do better and want to do something in their lives. And I think extraordinary. Hey, you know what extraordinary could be? Could be going home and kissing your wife. If that's something you never do, if you take your family for granted, if you never spend time with your kids, take them out to the park, take them to the beach. Extraordinary doesn't have to be these magnificent feats. It has to become a better person and try to do some little thing every single day that makes you better and better as a human being, because you can't have a great company if you can't be a really good leader, and you can't be a really good leader if you're not somebody that's really good at home. It all starts there. And so extraordinary can be a small thing for some of us and a major feat for others.
Clean your
I
room.
agree. I agree. Like
Big
clean
bet.
your room. Mike Tyson had a quote. He said, "I don't want to be great. I want to be good. I know plenty of great people that are evil motherfuckers. I want to be a good person."
Nah,
Yep.
that's
There you
all.
go.
One of my daughters is good friends with him. He's a
Oh, the dude's
amazing
an
guy.
animal.
Yeah.
He's an animal.
He's also the gentlest, other than eating somebody's ear. The
Yeah.
very
Take that
gentle.
aside.
Yeah.
Did you hear about his CBD gummies with Evander Holyfield? They have a collab. It's
No way.
bitten off ear CBD gummies.
Get out.
Yeah, they're selling like hotcakes, man.
Great
They
name.
collaborated on that too.
That's correct.
Tyson and Holyfield. What's the name? Something ear? Eat my ear?
Ear gummies, like
Ear
eaten
gummies.
ear gummies, or I don't know the actual name, but that's the concept. Like his ear bitten off
No,
That-
as
great
a
name.
gummy.
Great name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a guy for Idea Pros right there. But okay, so
No,
fuck average, be extraordinary. Most people just rather like they think there's like a magic idea somewhere, like, oh, like I get this idea and then that's it. Well, they don't realize the work, the failure, the putting yourself out there, the facing embarrassment, the grind. And then if you do get successful, success has its own prices too that people don't talk about. We don't talk about it because very few actually make it to be successful.
yeah, and we don't have sympathy, right?
Right.
America is like a very strange country because we all want to be really successful, but we all hate on the people who are. It's a really strange dichotomy. We have no sympathy for anybody who's successful. It's saying my life fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Nobody buys into that. But all you got to do is look at anybody who's successful. I mean, look at Oprah, who living in a car and homeless, or Elon Musk, man, when he had in 2008, he had 3 failed rocket launches, and he bet everything he had on the 4th one. If that failed, you would never know who he was. And everyone, you point to one and look at the story. You pick whoever you feel is a good, huge success. Pick them, Google them, look at their history. Every one of them, I guarantee you, has had a lot of shit happen to them along that journey. And it's not a permanent success is not permanent. It's something you have to work on all the time. Even if you become really successful in your business, with people behind you, competitors chasing after you, there's technology ahead of you that's changing that can make you obsolete. And you got to be on top of your game all the time. And there is no magic pill, and there is no great idea that is going to substantiate your success. I mean, fuck, the first electric car, 1890. That's when the first electric car came out. So it takes a while
Really?
to happen. Yeah.
Huh.
So the mindset of put yourself out of business, always be trying to put yourself out of business is the way to maintain success.
You know what? I have not heard that expression before, but that's exactly
I
correct.
love that expression, man.
Yeah, I'm going to use it from now on. Can I steal it, or
You
could I?
Steal
certainly
it.
can. Not
I
stealing it from
stole it.
me.
I stole it from someone else.
Okay.
Uh, I think that's where Chris heard it. You got to work on putting yourself out of business because the minute you get complacent, that's the minute somebody else sees weakness or sees an opportunity where you're sleeping.
Yeah.
And that's it. This is the innovator's dilemma too. Like the bigger the company gets, the less they want to invest in the new stuff because they're too busy protecting their old shit. They're hiring Harvard lawyers to protect their shit, and
Mhm.
somebody else scrappy doesn't have a lawyer. They use LegalZoom and say, "Fuck that, we're gonna make something better," and then
Yeah.
that's how that's the cycle. That's the
Yeah.
cycle.
Absolutely, and that's why, by the way, a good exit for anybody who has a startup that's really growing could be acquisition by one of these big ass public companies, because you're absolutely right. They don't have the time to invent, but they do have the currency to buy.
Yeah,
And they, a lot of times people come to me, I'm afraid that this company's going to steal my idea, that company's going to steal my idea and give me an NDA, and like, nobody's going to steal your fucking idea, man. It's got a lot of work to get it successful, and by the time you get it successful, people are not going to want to steal it; they're going to want to buy it. And so,
that socialist homeboy Thomas Piketty wrote the book Capital. It's a great book, even though I'm not a socialist. Um, he said, as long as return on capital is greater than the growth rate of the GDP or of income, you're always going to have income inequality because those who have the money don't need to work. Pfizer just said, what was it, 10 years ago, their CEO was on and said, we're no longer in the business of inventing drugs. We just wait around and buy the next biotech that does it. So they just become an asset management company.
yeah,
Google's the same way. Google's the same way.
Hmm.
Facebook did the same thing. They have
Yep.
hundreds of companies.
You
Yeah,
get large enough, you're not worried about inventing anything.
no,
Yeah,
yeah,
because you get the money, so you just make the flywheel, let the other people fail. Why? Why? Because most of them are failures anyways. Why risk
Mhm.
it? Just you can pick the winners.
yeah, yeah. Well, ChatGPT, Microsoft invested something like $100 billion or something insane in that, became a very large shareholder in that early on. That was a brilliant move on their part, by
Mhm.
the way, because they were becoming almost obsolescent. They were looked at as the old school group.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's when Google put what was it, 4 billion in YouTube. Everyone thought that was a ridiculous number, and now
Yeah,
YouTube. I mean, YouTube's probably worth like 400 billion on its own. Just
yeah.
YouTube.
They bought Instagram for $1 billion. Instagram had 13 employees, zero revenue, and 100 million members. So that's what they bought. What was
Yeah.
that? $100 a member?
What do you
Nailed
think about income inequality in that case? Because you mentioned something about Americans hate. I think the sentiment is
it.
Americans don't like that the game is rigged in a way to where those who have money can do this and don't have to work, and those that don't have to fight each other to get in a position where they can either be acquired. And in the context of business, it's getting acquired. What do you
Mhm.
think about the growing wealth inequality?
Be- Before you answer that question, though, America's always loved the underdog and they love a success story. So I don't think it's necessarily always they're rooting against success, right? They love to see the underdog prevail.
Yeah. You know, if you look at the statistics, the top 1% pays something like 35% of all taxes.
I think it's
Uh,
45.
45. I know the
Yeah.
top 5%, you're getting to almost 50% there. And so the reality is a lot of things are misconceptions. But you can look at a whole lot of billionaires, and I'm never going to become a billionaire, but you can look at a whole lot of them, and there are many examples. Look it up on Google after you listen intently to this show. Go on Google and say 10 billionaires that were homeless or had no or penniless, and you'll see there's a lot more than that. So it's not always that people with money have an unfair advantage. A lot of time, it's people that are disadvantaged have this unfair amount of drive and energy and determination and fortitude, and that's what really makes the difference. This is the one country really where you can, despite your background, where you really can make it. I mean, again, statistically, really making it as an entrepreneur, uh, the greatest number of them went to really, really good schools. And so there's an unfair advantage there. But a lot of those end up becoming failures. They never make it with their business. I think if you have enough drive and you can think really well and on your feet and have the determination, you can make it. Anybody can make it.
Here's the breakdown. I googled it. 1% pay 42. Um, top 10 pay 50%. Excuse me. Top 10 pay 74%. Top 25 pay 89%.
Yeah, and think of that. The top 25% of Americans pay 90% of our taxes, and we have this distorted view because the politicians and the news and everything else tries to make it, well, it's not fair because of how much money they have. And stop thinking about how much money they have and think about how much they pay.
Right.
And even if you're looking at property taxes, everybody pays the property taxes for the same reason, to keep the roads maintained, to keep the police going, the fire,
Schools.
and so somebody with one home has to pay 100 times somebody with another home. There are a lot of disparities all through this process. I don't know when enough is enough, but I do know that there are a whole lot of people like Gates and Warren Buffett and everything that do throw billions of dollars back into the system, the economy, different
I
nonprofit.
like this book, How to Lie with Statistics. So the problem with those, this is a must reading for everyone. It's like even I can read this. It's like so small. The problem with those stats, even what we just read,
Yeah,
if you don't really think about it, you think, oh shit, well, these are all predetermined and okay, I'm gonna be there the rest of my life. And in a country like ours, it's fluid. You can move. There's nothing keeping you from being in whichever one of those you aspire to be in. You got to have a little bit of luck. But that top 5%, I
Top
think
one.
it's like, yeah, yeah, but the top five, you only need to make like 400K a year
No,
to
it's
be in the
top
top five.
top 1%, just because of the recent inflation. I think is close to 500,000 now. It's like
That's
489 or
it.
something like
That's
that.
achievable as fuck.
And
You can just
yeah,
have a podcast and do that.
yeah.
and 50% of those do not maintain the 1%. They're like in and out of it,
There
right?
you
One
Yeah,
go.
year they're
Fluid.
in, 5 years they're not, next year they're in. So
mhm,
yeah, I mean it's anybody can achieve it.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree, and I think part of the problem is that I think you hit the nail on the head, as they say, is that we look at them instead of the reality is we're all them, and we all have.
No,
To your point, we all have that possibility in this country. Uh, achieving those numbers is not impossible for anybody listening.
Yeah, if you're overly bitter and jealous, you're your roadblock,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah,
yeah,
but the culture is making it out. This is a victim culture. I mean, that's another podcast in and of itself, but schools, right, need to start teaching STEM. We need to start cranking out like actual producers and not just a bunch of crybabies coming out of universities and then crying that they don't have what's theirs. Well,
So
nothing's yours, motherfucker. Like
so so we no longer need liberal arts degrees. Is that
you
what I hear
can
you
get it.
saying, Dan?
You can get it. Just don't go in debt for it. I mean, think about what you're going to do with that degree. You can just start a podcast.
yeah.
What's liberal arts? Fucking start a podcast and talk your shit on there. Free.
Yeah, doesn't cost you a dime.
Yeah, no, there's a real opportunity here, but again, we a lot of us either never start or we give up way too fast. And again,
Mm.
use those failures as learning opportunities to kind of navigate this winding road that we're all on.
Are
Don't
you
be over.
bullish? Well, go ahead, Chris. What were
I
you
was
going
just
to
gonna
say?
say, don't be overly pessimistic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Chris, I
yeah.
don't understand how you're wearing a Dodgers and a Mariners gear on the same podcast.
I
I
used to
just
live in
realized that,
Seattle.
man.
Used to live in Seattle. Now I live in Southern California. What do you want?
He's overly pessimistic.
Frederick, how are you feeling about the global economy, the United States' position within it, and then each individual's ability to make a reasonable future for themselves going forward? Are you more or less optimistic than you were, let's say, 10 years ago?
I think that every time there's something quote unquote bad that happens at a macro level, some of the greatest companies in the world come out of them. It started with General Electric. Look at the economy that they came out of. But some of the big Airbnb, Google, the list goes on. You know, some of the best wins were born in bad times. So if you're thinking about an idea, if you're thinking about trying to get somewhere, this is a great time to hunker down and start doing it. The reality is that we go up. Even though things go up and down, in general, we're going to go up, and we're going to be a lot better next year than this year. And I think hang in there. That there's a lot of opportunities right now.
Hmm. Chris, you hear that? We gotta double down on this podcast, man. It's optimistic.
Hey, even with things uh, like capital. You know, people are talking about venture capital and private equity. The reality is there's more capital available right now than ever, because all that money has been given to these entities. It's just stingy. That's all. It's stingy, but they're required to place that capital. I mean, the different pension funds and other entities give that money for that money to go to use. So you can only hold it so long. They're looking for the best deals. So think of money as being stingy, not disappearing. So you have to be better prepared. You have to know what you're talking about. You have to find a good avenue, a good sector to be in that's growing, that's opportunistic, that you can exploit, and you can get the money you need to grow anything. You just need to know what the hell you're talking about.
Do you think if you had to start over, Fred, in that 2024 world, would you have picked multiple industries or would you have just hyper focused on one? Is it different now than it was when you started out?
You know, that's a really good question, and I have no idea what that answer is. I can tell you one thing though: I don't know that I would have picked the business I'm in right now because it's really fucking hard when you're dealing with so many hundreds of entrepreneurs. You're dealing with all sorts of personalities and
Oh,
all
I
sorts of
bet.
different issues, and there's always a fire happening every day with at least 20 or 30 different companies.
Wow. How do you deal with it? Do you have a staff that helps you out or
Drugs, lots of drugs.
what's
Oh
your
yeah,
drug of choice?
yeah, I want to never refuse to answer that question. I have a lot of employees. I have a really good executive staff, and you know, we manage it, but it is hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Hardest thing you ever done is managing like this portfolio of entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, by far.
Wow.
And I was CEO of two public companies,
And
and
this
it's
is harder.
way harder.
Well, that kind of leads me to a curiosity question. What would you say is the primary personality attribute of an entrepreneur? What would you say is most common?
Um, Crazy and a loser.
Really?
Yeah.
Sums me up. Well,
Well, you're crazy because everybody thinks you're nuts for leaving your day job and going out there and mortgaging the home and you know selling the kids and just giving up 40 hours with all your benefits for 80 hours with no pay, and you're a loser because nobody gets it right the first time, right? You know, and you're going to have a bunch of failures along the way. So those two attributes are the people that change the world, and
you're
that's what
you're a loser until you're not. Either you could always go back and get a job,
you can.
or you succeed.
Yeah.
So you're a loser, but the way I see it, only a short term. For me, it was 10 years.
Yeah.
So, uh, really, what you're describing, being that's the primary attribute, that also very much applies to like actors and actresses, right? I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
we're really close here to Hollywood, and I would say that's their primary attribute too.
Of course. I mean, their statistics may be even worse
Yeah.
than
It is worse. Professional sports worse. Acting worse. Entrepreneurship's reasonable.
yeah.
Well,
Anybody
compared to those.
anybody can take a swing at the bat in entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And if it fails, fire some people and do the shit yourself. Like it's really not that hard.
Exactly. So,
Fucking A, man. This is like I don't get why more people don't do this. Chris, you wanna like throw a curveball or in the spirit of the World Series, or do you have I know you have like more burning questions
No.
for Friday.
Let's do our curveball here.
All you, man. That's
All right. So Frederick, when Dan and I started doing this,
yeah.
we were just reacting to music videos. So have you ever watched a reaction to a song you like or anything like that on YouTube?
Sure.
Okay, great. So we don't do that any longer, but we do like putting our our those doing the podcast with us. We do like putting them on the spot and
Nice.
asking them to tell us a song they like, right? That's currently top of mind for them, song they like that maybe we haven't heard, but it has to be a song you like.
Ah, well, the song that I like, well, I like all the songs by the Kooks, and you probably never even heard of the Kooks.
No, you're good right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're good right there.
So yeah, the song. Listen to the Kooks afterwards. Any of their songs.
No. We gotta
The
listen to it
Kooks?
now.
Oh, really?
The
Yes.
Kooks Naive?
There you go. That's a good one.
It's like their most popular one.
Yeah.
Kooks.
Interesting. You wanna break down like a little bit what the Kooks are?
Yeah.
They're kind of the Kinks of today.
Well, that
So
doesn't explain anything.
so when were the Kooks most popular? What year kinda?
I thought, well, they're still popular, but 4 or 5 years ago for sure.
All right.
All
Let's
right.
let's hit this one, Dan.
Frederick with the he threw a curveball on our curveball, man.
Yeah.
The Kooks.
Yeah.
Oh, the Kinks. Okay.
And they're going on concert beginning February 29th.
Very nice.
So they
Mark.
remind me of Måneskin. You're right, Chris.
So this is our 32nd podcast, I
33rd.
believe. 33rd. Okay, 33rd podcast.
Illuminati. We're on the highest level.
That was the best song of the
Oh,
33,
awesome.
in my opinion.
Well, thank you.
It's between this one and the one right before this one with Carrie
Yeah, I
Underwood.
like the Ludacris one too.
Carrie
but
Underwood.
I like
Ludacris,
this
and
one better.
Well, Chris is a rocker at heart. That's
Wait,
Yeah.
Terry Underwood? You're comparing this to Terry Underwood? Carrie Underwood? Are you
It's just like it's a vibe, overall. Like I'm relatively
Frederick's shaking his head.
I'm disappointed.
So
no, this is up there, man. These guys are they sound like they're British or something.
Yeah, they are. They're British.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So rock is still dead in the US.
Yeah.
so have you heard of Måneskin, Frederick?
Well, I had to cut off when I was a child.
no, that's entirely different. So I have a recommendation. I like I like that a lot, and I'm going to check out more of them.
Yeah.
Similar to Måneskin, check out the group Måneskin. They're probably the most popular rock band in the world right now.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah.
Even
you
my
love
kids, are both in middle and high school, and they both say that it's one of the most popular groups at their school.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
you want to know something amazing about them? They were born where I was born, Italy.
Wow. Well, really?
They're Italian.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Oh, so you
Yes.
did know them. I didn't. Okay.
Måneskin. Maneses.
Oh, you just Googled them. I thought you were talking about the Kooks.
Not
That
the
was
Kooks. These
Oh,
the
my
guys
Talking about
that you
Måneskin from Italy.
love
Måneskin,
Yeah.
so
yes, they're
dearly.
Italian. Yes, they're
You
Italian.
love them so much you don't have a clue where they're from.
Chris.
No.
Chris is very
Måneskin, I
nationalistic.
knew they were Italian,
All right.
and half their songs are in Italian.
Oh, good. This is good because I lived
you would love
in Europe till I was 16. So this would be good for me.
Yeah, there you go. Test your how much you remember of it, the Italian language.
It was my first language, so I remember all of it.
Well, that's good.
Although when I go to Italy, people say to me, "Wow, you speak really good Italian for an American." And there's like 4 or 5 dead people that have said that to me. But
Nice.
I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing that we get to bring. Do you want to do a Måneskin song real quick, or
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
Frederick
alright.
has time. I'm happy to do.
Sure.
There's a brand new one. Honey, Are You Coming? We haven't seen this either.
Oh, well, let's hope it's, okay for your show.
Anything's okay for our show. I mean, yeah, that's one of the better. Okay, here we go. Let
I've heard
me
that
put
too,
it
though.
on.
Honey, are you coming?
Yeah,
Right.
I
I've
think
heard
we've
that
all heard it in
a
several
couple
different
hundred
contexts.
times.
Yeah, exactly.
Here we go.
In one night.
Honey, Are
Not
You
in one
Coming?
night, not a couple hundred times in one night. No.
Our opportunity to introduce Frederick to Måneskin get back in touch with his Italian roots, the
Let's
most
do it.
popular rock band in the world, and a huge staple of our show. We owe a lot of our show's early success to Måneskin fans.
My
You gotta do
favorite
that wink. I love Frederick's reaction too. The fact that we can do it with him is amazing. Thank you, Frederick.
Absolutely. And Frederick, my favorite song by them, it's in Italian. I have no clue what they're saying, but it's my favorite song.
Yeah,
by
go down the rabbit hole. You will love them. Rock is not dead. It's just dead in the United States.
them,
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Well, it's coming back. And
Let's
it's gonna
do it,
start
man. Let's
right
invest
here.
in the startup. Hey, I got an idea. Let's invest in a startup that brings rock back to the US.
For 100 grand, it could be yours.
All right, Frederick, thank you so much for coming on. We got to do more.
This
Maybe
is a
when
lot.
I'm in, meet us too, man. Next time when I'm in San Diego, maybe we can do an in-person one.
Yeah. I doubt it, but yeah, no. Of course.
We'll do one of these, but it's good to have you now in my LinkedIn contacts. I just connected with you,
Good.
and everybody go follow the link to Idea Pros right now underneath, and get educated. If nothing else, just watch his stuff, the free stuff, right? And then if you
Yeah,
want,
and also, hey, on Instagram, official Fred Carey, Cary. I have 500,000 followers on there, and
oh shoot, hold on, tell me which one it is. Official Fred Carey.
yeah, Cary. And I just post every day. I don't have a crew or anything. I just put a camera in front of me and say some stupid shit, but people find it
Wow, no
inspirational.
shit,
So a
Frederick.
minute a day, hopefully will help guide you along your path.
Hey man, I just followed you too, so there you
Sweet.
go.
No dick
Amazing.
pic.
Nah, maybe just a few in the DMs
All right.
and all
Just in the beginning.
that. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Everybody go follow Frederick right now.
Thank you for watching, everybody.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.